Hello, my name is Devon3, and the case study that I'm going to present to you is from the first reading from the St. Petersburg City Council, which took place on February 21st. It was about an ordinance to revise Chapter 8 of the City Code to remove references to discontinued rental housing inspection programs and to clarify procedures related to place-guarding dangerous buildings. These programs have been in place since the early 1990s, and some city officials believe that the code is outdated. Recently it has been brought up by the city that it could face lawsuits because it violates the Fourth Amendment. The premise of this argument in the rental inspection program, which I just stated earlier, that it violates the rights of the Fourth Amendment, which states the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by an oath of affirmation and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The rental inspection program was created by former Mayor David Fisher. He believed that the city neighborhoods should have a safe and healthy living conditions. The ordinance was to preserve, maintain, and upgrade the city neighborhoods. During this time, it was not possible for the city to be able to have a citywide rental inspection program, so they only target certain areas, most notably the low-income areas of the city. The main components of the inspection program were that target areas had to have a valid certificate of inspection before that unit could have it occupied by a tenant. If there were violations, for example, fire damage, roof repair, structural components were damaged, electric violations, anything affecting health, if the building was already occupied, then the inspector could only enter the building if they were notified by the tenant and request permission to inspect or the tenant arranged for inspection. Councilmember Steve Cornell spoke on the matter. He stated that he would like to gather more information about the inspection program before taking a vote on it. In response to his question, the city attorney stated that the inspection programs violated the Fourth Amendment, and the city of Daytona was the subject of a lawsuit because of this. In the lawsuit, it was claimed that the city regulations allowed inspectors to enter a property if renters and owners refused to let them in, which violated the Fourth Amendment. The suit argues that inspectors should have probable cause to enter homes along with a warrant. There was only one person to speak on behalf of why the city of St. Petersburg should keep the inspection program. Ms. Trina L. Cox. Ms. Cox was the lead code inspector over the program in the 1990s. She stated that it is very important for the city council members to consider these programs because it benefits low rental families. They are subject to bad living conditions from the slumlords. She always made it aware that anytime she went into a house, the tenants would let them in, would told them they were allowed to come in. They never forced their way inside. Tenants are also afraid, as she stated, to speak out on the slumlords. There was a motion to table the vote until March 7th, the next council meeting. During this meeting, Assistant Code Enforcer James Corbin explained to the council members it was in the best interest of the city to discontinue the programs because they hadn't been used in years. The Code Enforcement Office has its own guidelines and procedures that they use for rental inspections. He also noted that it is a citywide program also, not just for certain areas. The system that he uses, the Code Enforcement Office, as far as the rental inspection programs, doesn't open the door for lawsuits from the tenants or the owners. With that being said, it was voted by all council members to discontinue the rental inspection programs and let the code enforcement office continue to use their system that's been in place also. The stakeholders and their perspectives. The city would be one because they do not want to be liable for a lawsuit because someone's Fourth Amendment rights has been violated. Councilmember Steve Cornell. Mr. Cornell would like to see if any modifications can be done to the existing code and not get rid of it altogether. The city attorney also has a role in it. She has the best interests of the city in mind and knows that the current code can cause problems and is willing to offer different alternatives. My expert interview was with Ms. Trina Cox. She was formerly head of the codes department during the early 90s and 2000s. Now she's running for city council for District 5. I asked Ms. Cox did she feel like the city was handling the inspection program correctly. Her response was no. She felt that it was a knee-jerk reaction to the lawsuit brought about in Daytona Beach. I asked was the program a success when she was over it in the 90s and 2000s. She stated that it was, and that she never entered or her officers entered anyone's home without their permission or a warrant. I asked what would be her recommendation to solve this matter. She stated that she would keep the program and to make sure that all rules and guidelines are being followed by the code enforcement officers of the inspection program. She said that she will also make sure that when entering a home that either the tenant or the owner was aware of it. She also stated that when a tenant has a complaint and asks for an inspection, that there is no retaliation from the landlord for doing so. The piece of advice that she would give to a student was to be extra extraordinary in all things that they do. Because it's your knowledge of the field that you are judged by daily. The recommendation I have for the inspection program would be to keep the inspection program as it is. I didn't see any potential violations to the Fourth Amendment in the program. In my opinion, the code enforcers have to make sure that there is cause to enter into someone's property. Daytona Beach didn't get rid of the inspection program after the lawsuit, they just upgraded it. What they did was clarify and change some things. For example, they merged the rental and business tax license. So every year, in order to rent out a residential property, one was subject to an inspection before an owner could receive a license. So thank you for listening and watching my presentation.